time for today's guest, and we're happy to be joined in the studio with Italian philosopher, not just philosopher, a man of many talents, and we're going to find out more about those in a moment, Guido Giacomo Gatti. Welcome to Sunday Lunch again.
Thank you very much for having me. It's always a very enormous pleasure to be here with you, because really the radio is amazing, your program is amazing, so thank you very much.
Tyle miłych słów. W 2016 roku Guido był naszym gościem.
On the 11th of April, you said, yeah?
Yeah, as far as I remember, yes. That's what the picture says.
Dokładnie, bo to widać też przecież.
That was season 1.
Sezon pierwszy Sunday Lunch. Wow,
Yeah.
nieźle.
So Guido, you've been in Wrocław, in and out of Wrocław for the last, how many, 7 years?
More. I arrived here in 2009.
Wow.
Yeah.
Much longer.
Yeah.
So Guido, you're almost Polish.
Well.
So Guido, what was it that drew you to come and live in Poland, to live in Wrocław? Just going back.
Oh, well, that's a long story. I don't know. Back this time I arrived here because my girlfriend was Polish and I was studying in Paris, and we met up there in Paris 8 because actually, I was studying my university in Paris. So yes, we met up there, and she wanted to come back to Wrocław, and I knew nothing about this city. For me, it was an empty hole in the map. And I arrived here and I fell in love with the city. That's the story. And I stayed.
I został. W 2009 roku pierwszy raz przyjechał Guido do Wrocławia. To jest historia związana z miłością, ale poznali się w Paryżu, po czym dziewczyna stwierdziła, że trzeba by jechać do Wrocławia. On o Wrocławiu nie wiedział nic, to było puste miejsce na mapie, no ale przyjechał, no i zakochał się we Wrocławiu i wciąż tu mieszka.
So since you've been here for such a long time, what kind of changes have you noticed over the last 13 years?
Ugly buildings, horrible buildings. It's incredible that, I mean, such gray cubes are growing everywhere, and I don't know, because I really enjoyed the center of the city, the old art of the architecture of the city, so I'm very sad about those things, but for the rest the city is still amazing as it used to be, so as always.
Aha, ciekawe. Szare budynki. W ogóle dzisiaj szare budynki się pojawiły w rozmowie, więc jakaś szarość tutaj dzisiaj jest w natarciu. Co zanotował, jakie zmiany Guido przez te 13 lat, kiedy mieszkał we Wrocławiu? Mówi o brzydkich budynkach, które się pojawiają. Szarych, brzydkich budynkach. On bardzo kocha Wrocław, lubi ten klasyczny Wrocław, ale te szare, nowe budynki zupełnie mu nie pasują.
Well, I think, basically the city is growing, so there has to be a place to accommodate people. Sadly, we don't all have great architects to design wonderful places for people to live.
Jest też fajnych, wiadomo, ale rozumiem, że kilka niefajnych robi różnicę.
But I really love Wrocławia, the new commercial mall. It's amazing.
I actually liked it too, because when I first went there, they were playing jazz. And not this kind of kitschy music, so I kind of thought it was pretty classy. But Guido, you're like myself, I graduated in philosophy, but you're the only person I've ever met who continued in philosophy. I've had to find other things to do with my life. But you've got a big passion for philosophy. You studied at the Sorbonne, right? University in France?
No, Paris 8.
Paris 8, right. Paris 8.
Paris 8, Saint-Denis.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this is an esteemed place for studying philosophy, right?
They say so, yeah.
Well, that's good. If they say it, then it has to be. But you've decided...
In my opinion, it was more interesting for my kind of philosophy, because La Sorbonne is more like classic, and in Paris 8 you have more like modern philosophy. It's more like, modern days philosophy. So that's why I chose this one. I was choosing Paris 8, not it didn't happen by chance.
Okay, so it was all specially chosen. We're going to play one of your songs in a moment, but before we do that, why do you think philosophy is so relevant today?
Because philosophy is about learning how to live, and we really don't know how to live. And because philosophy is about learning how to deal with pain and death. And we had a lot, and we still have a lot, of course, like every day. So that's the main reason why we really need philosophy, and we will always need philosophy in our lives. That's Erasmus, by the way, it's not me, but I agree with Erasmus.
Okay, well, let's play a track. Which track would you like first of all?
I don't know, let's start with the first one by Giorgio Gaber.
So Guido, tell us a bit about that track. Why did you choose that particular song?
Because the title is I Don't Feel Italian. Well, it's a very weird thing about my nationality. I never had that much of Italian culture, but I grew up in Italy, and my first language is still Italian. So, but I have a lot of French culture, and then coming here in Wrocław, I got deeper into Polish culture a lot, even if my Polish is not great, because we have to say that culture and language not always are exactly the same thing. They have a lot of bindings between them, but they're not exactly the same thing. So
look at British English, American English,
for example.
Exactly. Or maybe if you want to go that way, we could look at the Italian spoken in Eritrea and the Italian spoken in Italy.
Yeah. Never been in Eritrea, by the way. Maybe I should go once.
Well, Guido, tell us about your philosophical activities, because I know you're a man of doing many, many things, and you mentioned off air that you're offering philosophical consultations to people such as politicians, business leaders, corporate people. What kind of things happen in these philosophical consultations?
Well, it's very, very easy, actually. If you read some Socrates dialogue by Plato, you already know. Of course, that's fiction. In real life, doesn't work like, oh, you're right, Socrates, you're so right, Socrates, I agree so much with you, Socrates. Usually they try to fight you back. But the point is always the same, is meiotics. So basically we try to make the customer, the client, answer himself to the question he's bringing. So I'm kind of a personal trainer for brains.
Okay.
Basically, you come, you give me one question, and I help yourself to answer your question the way you want, with your brain, with your perspective. I'm not giving anything. I'm just kind of guiding your path, climbing the mountain to achieve the answer.
Okay, this is also radically different from psychology, which comes with ready theories and ready responses, and you're not doing that.
Yeah, actually we have a lot of contacts with modern psychology, because now psychology is moving to philosophy. So if you read some book from Giorgio Nardone, if you heard about, he's very popular now worldwide, he's coming a little bit back from philosophy, because if you want, actually psychology started from philosophy in the first place. For example, my aunt, she was the director of one of the biggest centers of psychology in Italy, and she had a degree in philosophy because at that time psychology was a specialization after philosophy. Okay. So, but yes, psychology detached a lot from philosophy, old style, like I do. And yes, so we still have a lot of huge differences, absolutely.
Maciej.
Tyle rzeczy. Ja mam tylko taki co myślę, że to jest ciekawe, znaczy wszystko było ciekawe, ale o tym, że w tych konsultacjach filozoficznych Guido mówi, że nie daje odpowiedzi, ale trenuje nas do znalezienia odpowiedzi, że on robi taki trening mózgu, dzięki któremu będzie łatwiej znaleźć odpowiedź w sobie. Guido pewnie może to lepiej przetłumaczyć.
Because I think, in psychology there's a lot of discussion about why do I behave like this? Why do I do this? But I think in philosophy, it's more about how can I be a good person, or what's going to be satisfactory for me how should I live my life to be happy? These are fundamental questions that are not answered by psychology necessarily.
Yes, I do agree with you. On the other hand, I have to say that even psychologists try to deal with with those kind of things, but of course we deal differently, because for psychology it's just like you have a deck of cards, and I can propose you one of my cards, and they're amazing cards. Yeah. So if you're missing one card to play your game, I'm going to give you one card.
I think many people are missing a few cards from the deck.
Yeah, well. In philosophy, we're just trying to say, okay, those are your cards. What can you do with them? Of course, you can grow new ones, but I'm not going to give you, because to give you, in a sense, is just even to betray your really purpose. I don't know if you get me.
I know what you mean. Yeah, it's basically to look at what you've got and to use it to the best way you can.
Yes, because actually the problem is that if I give you another model, for example, modeling in PNL, okay, almost everybody knows about modeling in PNL. I'm just coming here, I see Terry. Terry is a successful man. I'm staying with him because he allowed me, he's generous. So I'm just following him like a puppy, and I'm learning to be a new Terry, but I am not Terry. So at one point, this faking to be Terry will be creating some problem to me, you know. Napoleon Hill theory is the utmost, maybe exemplarish, can I use this word, shape of this problem. Actually, you cannot just model and fake something, because yes, fake it until you make it, but after making it, what happens? You fake it, you make it, and then what?
Then you're still faking it.
Yeah, or maybe you will just fail, because at one point you will really not be the person that is right for that. Something that I always say to my customers, for example, is that you don't have to succeed in a job interview that you're not good at, because it would be the worst thing in your life. Because if you succeed in a job interview for a position that is not your right position, that you're not made for, you're going to condemn yourself to a life of sorrow.
That's true.
You don't have to succeed in what you're not made for. That's the point.
Nic tego nie przetłumaczę, bo to jest za dużo, ale mam nadzieję, że jest to wyłapywane. Ciekawe rzeczy. Szczególnie, że Terry też jest filozofem z wykształcenia.
Yes. It's very interesting for me.
Super ciekawe rzeczy. Mam nadzieję, że jakoś tam właśnie złapaliście, o czym mówi nasz gość. Zagrajmy teraz z playlisty od Guido znów. Guido, so what's the next track? Niżej, Terry pokazuje niżej. Ten niżej, tak? Tutaj jesteśmy?
Yeah, let's go with it.
Okay.
They're from my town.
Okej, dobra, wracamy za chwilę. What?
No, nothing.
No tutaj było może kilka zaskoczeń muzycznych. Guido, please say something about this track. They are from your town.
Yes, they are actually, and this song is about being intoxicated by life, by the habits we have. So a lot of times the problem is just that if you are intoxicated, and for example, a lot of time people come to my consulting and they say, oh, I don't sleep well, what can I do? You know, with philosophy you cannot do a lot of things to sleep well. Yes, maybe you can meditate and something like that, but first of all you probably have to eat less sugar and drink less coffee and those things. And actually we intoxicate ourselves in many ways because we are lazy, basically. So it's very easy to grab toxic food, or for example to go in the street without paying attention. For example, there is a very interesting book by Leonard Hicks. There is a journalist from The Guardian. He wrote Life to the Bone, and this book is about how to manage life in the cities. For example, you always should stay like 10 meters away from the traffic when you wait for the green light, and nobody does it. We just wait exactly in front of the cars and we get intoxicated. Why? Because we're lazy. That's reality. So yeah.
Był trochę o toksyczności i Guido mówi o tym, że kiedy przychodzą do niego czasem ludzie na właśnie konsultacje filozoficzne, to mówią o tym, że no nie mogą spać, właśnie mają trudności w życiu, różne takie proste rzeczy. On mówi im, że mogliby zacząć od właśnie jedzenia mniejszej ilości cukru, wypicia mniejszej ilości kaw, że może tutaj też trzeba by o tym pomyśleć. No i wspomniał o tym, że warto byłoby na przykład stanąć 10 metrów od przejścia dla pieszych, kiedy czekamy na przejście przez ulicę, i to byłoby zdrowsze dla nas o wiele, ale nie robimy tego.
Well, let's talk a bit about another part of your activity, which is Philosophical Cafe, and you're running a Philosophical Cafe this evening, is that right?
Absolutely right. We will be in Positive Day at 7 tonight. So
that's on ulica Bogusławskiego, right?
Pod nasypem.
Pod nasypem, right. Is it Bogusławskiego or Bolesławskiego?
Bogusławskiego.
Bogusławskiego, that's it. Bogusławskiego, Positive Day. And what time does it begin?
7.
7 p.m. So if anybody listening would like to get involved in philosophical discussions, there's, as from what I understand, it's a free meeting. and usually you get 20 to 30 people who come along and you discuss different philosophical subjects.
Yes, in the first place, they decide together which topic they want to discuss, and then I just facilitate the meeting in order to make anyone able to speak without being overlapped by other people. So, yes, it's entertaining, and it's just a way to see how philosophical practice works for free. There is they don't have to pay anything, and so yes, it's just. Yeah, of course I do it to advertise myself. That's not a secret. But yes, it's a free thing. You can join, and usually people are very young. We have a lot of, especially have a lot of girls studying psychology that are coming. That's like the main kind of people coming, to be honest. And a lot of international people too.
Yeah. Okay, and where can we find out more information about you and your activities?
Well, in Wrocław, the best thing to do is to go to my page on Facebook. There's Philosophical Practice in Wrocław.
Okay.
That easy.
Philosophical Practice in Wrocław, and you can find out much more.
Żeby przypomniało mi, że nie zrobiliśmy naszemu gościowi zdjęcia, więc zaraz zrobimy i tam podepniemy może post na Facebooku.
Absolutely.
Tak będzie najprościej.
And okay, very finally, before we get to that matter, we will do that as well. Do you have a special message for our listeners in Italian?
Oh, wow. You got me off guard. Bisogna fare quello che bisogna fare. That's something that my master told me, one of my most dear masters, because of course I had a lot, but this guy was from Switzerland, and he's Jean-François Nicolet, and he told me once in French actually, faut faire ce qu'il faut faire. That means you have to do what you have to do. And if I just say that, it sounds maybe even meaningless, but being honest is very, very important. And it was very important to me. Because at one point, it's very Socratic, you know. If you ask yourself, being honest and clean from all the prejudges and worries and fears, you really sit down and ask yourself in front of a mirror, or just closing your eyes and thinking of yourself, what should I really have to do? Usually you already know.
Okay, that's it.
And so you have to be two things. First thing, smart enough to understand what you have to do. Second thing, of course, you must be brave enough to do it. And of course, you always have to grow some compassion, as Aldous actually said, because if you're intelligent but you have no compassion, that of course you will not network, because at one point you will just eat everything, destroy everything, get everything, and die. You have to be able even to network with other people. So.
And if you can't do all of that, get in touch with Guido Giacomo Gatta. He's waiting for you, and he could take your life in a philosophical adventure that may change everything. Guido, thank you very much for coming on the show. We do have one last track, actually, Maciej. We have one last track which is at the very bottom. Could you give it an introduction?
The very last one is one of my favorite songs from one of my students, because I had a lot of students in a project in Italy, and I was following them for 2-3 years, actually, of proper consulting. So, of course, a lot of them had a lot of success in life, and one of them became a singer, and that's Jamila. And yeah, she's a professional now, and yes, that's my favorite song from her.
Okay, so we're going to play that,
and last word, actually, the song says everything started from a bench, and in a sense, even in my life, everything started in a bench, but my bench was with my grandfather. That was a philosopher too, so it's kind of long story.
Interesting. So Guido Giacomo Gatta, thank you very much for coming on to Sunday Lunch again after 6 years. It's been really great having you. And we just have to mention quickly that congratulations to Hannah, who is our lucky winner of this album. And of course the correct answer was that John Coltrane played the tenor saxophone. Well done.
To dziękuję panowie. To dzięki, też dziękuję, bo ja zostaję, bo Sunday Lunch się kończy, ale jeszcze kulinarny Wrocław od 14. To na koniec właśnie studentka naszego gościa z jego playlisty.
from one of the presenters here.